Hey guys, this is Bart coming to you from TST Industries in Florida, bringing you another episode of TST Garage. I have a very exciting episode today. As you can see, I am surrounded by Kawasaki's. We have the Z900, Z650, and Ninja 650, and we're going to be showing you how to install our new TST Industries integrated tail light on one of these bikes behind me. Now, what's so special about these lights? They are integrated, so they have signals already incorporated into the capsule. They are plug and play. A lot of the stuff you get on the market nowadays has to be wired in. We actually put in all the necessary connectors so that you can get your connection done just like you would with OEM equipment. They are available in clear or smoked lens, so the choice is yours. They are really, really bright. They provide ample brightness after installation, so either one you go with, you will be happy. We do include load balancing resistors for the purpose of slowing down your flash rate anytime you go away from the OEM incandescent light bulbs and the signals in the rear to any LED lighting equipment. You will need to slow down your flash rate, otherwise it'll cause hyperflash. That's what we call it, just a fast flash rate that goes beyond the 85 cycles per minute that the OEM manufacturers set. So this is sort of an industry standard that we include with every taillight, but we do recommend going with one of our relays. An LED flasher relay will just be a plug-and-play replacement for your OEM relay, and these bikes have a really easy to access relay, so that saves you some time and gives you a really nice professional installation versus having these dangling heated elements in your tail section. So that is a separate component. We do recommend going with this along with the tail light, but I'll leave the choice up to you. As you can see, the OEM unit is sort of Toyota Altezza-like. It has very 2000 to 2005-esque styling. We decided to update the styling and the shape of our taillights to something that is more elegant and flows better with the design language of the bikes. So let's swipe this away and show you guys what this thing looks like on the bikes. First, we have the Z900 here. We've outfitted it with the clear version of the taillight. It really does take the entire body language of the tail section here and brings it back and really molds it together and makes it look very, very aerodynamic, sleek, and stylish. So as you can see, there is a pretty vast difference between the OEM look like you see on the Z650 here still and the aftermarket version that we've come out with. Here you have on the Ninja 650, the smoked version. So when it's shut off, it'll look a little bit different. But if I power both these bikes up, you will see that we do have ample brightness from both of these units, and the added functionality is really cool too. We've enabled 9 program states that are available via the press of a button that remains accessible from the tail section under the seat. So you can choose 3 different brake versions and 3 different signal programs that you can mix and match to your liking. Now I'm really excited to start wrenching, so let's get started. So the particular model in our studio is already outfitted with our Elite 1 fender eliminator. We're going to pick up this installation assuming that the bike already has the fender eliminated. If yours does not, you still have the OEM fender, please see our fender eliminator installation video, and that will help you with the steps necessary to remove the fender. Let's ditch the seats and then proceed to the removal of the following fasteners. 2 Phillips head thread forming fasteners here and 4 4mm Allen head screws up here. When these screws are removed, they do take a shoulder washer with them. There's also a nylon plastic washer on there. Let's retain those for reinstallation. All right, now that all the hardware is out, we'll need to slide this top tail fairing towards the rear of the bike to clear the interference lock tabs from the undertail. And now we just need to make sure that all of them come out from their captive geometry. These windows in there look like this. There are 4 of them on either side, and they do have tabs that protrude from the top fairing that lock in there. The bottom fairing is made of polypropylene, so you can flex it without any adverse effects. I would not flex the top because it is a little bit more brittle. So we just successively go down the line and make sure, go up and down until all of them clear. And then the other side is really just easy to pop out once that side clears. As you can see, we have a series of 4 clips on either side. Please be careful with that. Now, we'll need to remove the fender eliminator off the bike to loosen the undertail. If you still have your fender on here, it'll have all these screws that will need to be taken out. For our version here, we'll just be removing these screws. Now, once the fender eliminator is out, we can jump up here in the forward portion of this compartment, just behind the battery. There are 2 5mm Allen head screws that need to come out. These also come out with these shoulder washers, so let's retain that. And now this whole undertail will be able to move back and forth before we move anything. I would like to disconnect the lighting components. On this particular bike, we don't have any signals plugged in. If you still have your fender on, all the connections will be made under this boot. That will need to be disconnected. For our purpose here in this video, we're just disconnecting the tail light. And that just routes back here, and we're good to go. Now we'll grab a small 8mm socket and pull back on this undertail until this clip here clears from the subframe. And that will permit me to move this whole assembly down and loosen these 2 screws that go through suspension rubber grommets in the tail light into the undertail. Once I crack them loose, I just work by hand. Each screw has a washer. Let's retain that. This particular screw goes through a wire management tab and then into that washer. So let's retain that washer. And now our tail light can be pushed forward to clear this tab. Please make sure that the rubber piece here comes with the bracket. And now our tail light comes out. At this point, we will need to remove these 2 Phillips fasteners. And now this suspension component comes off. And we will scavenge all the parts here in the suspension area of the tail light. There are shoulder spacers that go inside the grommet. As you notice, they do go in from the bottom towards the top with the washer portion at the bottom. Let's remember that for reassembly on our new TST tail light. Now we have to pop out these grommets. These grommets do vary a little bit from one side to the other. The bottom side is slightly smaller diameter and the top side is slightly larger diameter. So we will reinstall these in the same fashion on our new TST tail light. For this particular bike, we've chosen the clear version of the integrated tail light. We just felt that it really completes the really nice flat black scheme, and it really is going to set off the back end here. At this point, we'll just go in the reverse order of disassembly. So the smaller diameter of the grommet goes towards the bottom of the tail light. Make sure that you actually get that grommet concentric. And then press in the shoulder spacers from the bottom up. I also took off this wire management tab from the other tail light. I'm just going to sort of position it here temporarily. I'm going to fine tune the position of this wire after we get it all installed. The suspension part for top of the tail light goes up here and aligns the holes with these bosses. And we use the same Phillips head screws that we took off the OEM setup and get it fastened in place. I'm going to turn these screws in, but not bottom them out. Remember, you are using a thread forming screw going into ABS plastic. Please do not over tighten them. And these center pretty well. What I'm going to do is just shove my thumb down here and get this as far up as it'll go, and then tighten it down. All right. Now this assembly is ready to go back in the bike in the reverse order of disassembly. So we'll get it advanced up in here and then align this rubber tab with its receiver in the undertail. Make sure that it bottoms out. Once that bottoms out, we should be aligned with these grommet holes and their receiving bosses down there. Going to be reusing the same screws with the 8mm hex head. The one that went through this tab goes through, then receives a washer, then onto this connection. I'm going to thread it in by hand. Other side. Use my tool to get this set down almost at the bottom, and then fine tune how this wire management clip hangs. I like to have it parallel with the center plane of the bike, and then give it a final tighten with a tool. Now you can replace the undertail on the subframe with that clip engaged here. Give it a quick glance, make sure that we are good to go on replacing the screws. I'm going to start with the forward screws up here behind the battery. I'm going to set all of these screws in place and then not tighten them. After all of the components going through the undertail into the subframe are in place, that's when I'm going to get it all tight. Now the fender eliminator. All right, all the screws are in place. I'm going to make sure everything's aligned properly here. Everything looks good. I'm going to tighten down everything from the back to the front. Now on the right side of the bike, I'm going to make my connections and then test the tail light. It's fairly self-explanatory. You have your main plug going into the main receiver plug here. The idea of the signals here is to go down and then back up so that any water that may pass over this boot sheds off and doesn't go into your connectors. I like to connect my signal leads. I like to connect my signal leads here and then test to make sure I got the sides correct. Make sure that right is flashing right and left is flashing left. And in fact, we're good here. So now I'm just going to neaten up my wires here, make sure that the boot is slipped over far enough that it will protect these connectors. And it just rests in here. The top fairing clamps it in place. For this particular wire here, we do have this wire management clip that we've replaced from the OEM taillight. But what I like to do is use a blunt tool to get my wire pressed in between the taillight and this undertail bump out here, and then press down on the tab, and that keeps it out of the way of our little trunk space here and also out of the way of our programming button that now, without the wire in front of it, remains accessible. Okay, now that everything is together in this configuration here and we've tested it, we know that we can move forward. We will just replace the top section of the fairing in the reverse order of disassembly. I just urge you to be really, really careful and patient with this process. These tabs are quite a bit more brittle than this component, so if you need to flex this component. All right, you guys, we are done, and in just a couple moments, as you saw, we were able to go from this ordinary look on the tail of the Z900 to a very elegant and sleek, sexy look on the tail. Now you have multiple light fields for brake and running light, and you have signals integrated into the taillight should you choose to run them. A very sophisticated look to the entire package back here. And it really only took a couple minutes. On the run-ups, when I was trying to educate myself on the steps to present to you, it took me 12 minutes, 54 seconds to install the taillight, the fender eliminator, and the LED flasher relay. So you can see that this is really a breeze of an installation, and it produces really great results. If you agree with me, and I hope you do, come to tstindustries.com where you can find more photos of this package on different color bikes. You can find more information, educate yourself about the product, and if you choose to purchase it, you can get it right from our site. See you at tstindustries.com. Ride safe.